Welcome to LinguaFox, your shortcut to fluent speech, the podcast where language meets life. I'm Abbas Salahshour, teacher, narrator, and someone who believes that education should be more than a performance. Today's episode is a call out and a call in. If you've ever been told, don't say very good, say incredibly awesome as a lesson, this one's for you. Because behind that phrase is a much bigger problem. We're going to talk about what's really going wrong in English education, especially in places like Iran, but not only there. Let's begin. Don't say very good is not a lesson. It's a meme. Let's be honest. If your English teacher's biggest advice is to stop saying very good, what are we really learning? Language is about nuance, connection, and clarity, not just swapping one phrase for another to sound more native? Not really. But in many classrooms, we've reduced fluency to imitation. No context, no reasoning, no thinking, just catchphrases. Education becomes entertainment, and teaching becomes theater. And students, they become performers, not communicators. And it's very clear in a place where teachers parrot, students have no choice but to perform. In fact, there's a trend happening. Scroll through social media and you'll see it. English teachers confidently declaring rules that aren't real. And they don't exist in real world, in real communications, even in the US, even in England, even in Australia. They say, Americans never say that, or always say this instead, or this is 100% correct. But where is the evidence? Where's the research? Where's your source? Where is the humility? When teachers mimic trends instead of teaching truths, students stop thinking. And you know what they start doing? They start memorizing. And suddenly, we're all part of one big linguistic showmanship or cosplay, fluent in form, but empty in substance. And do you know who's responsible for this and does not hold himself also accountable for this? The Ministry of Education, a system that feeds the echo. In fact, this is not just about individual teachers. It's about institutions. The Iranian education system, and many like it, reward repetition over reflection. Teachers are trained to memorize and not question, to deliver, not dialogue. The result, in fact, a classroom where curiosity is punished, where don't say very good passes for methodology, where being trendy is more important than being accurate. And worst of all, students internalize the performance. They think fluency means sounding right, not thinking deeply. So far, we've talked about what's happening, but let's talk about what's not happening. We are not discussing why certain phrases feel more natural. We are not exploring register, audience, tone, or cultural nuance. We are skipping the thinking part. We are skipping the process. And in doing so, we are skipping the point. Real fluency is not built on phrases. It's built on patterns. It's built on exposure, confidence, and best of all, mistakes, because mistakes are a natural part of a learning process. But none of that fits in a 15-second reel. I've always tried to inform my students of that and why fake confidence hurts real learners. And I've always advised them to stay away from Instagram when they are learning something new, no matter what it is. Because the danger of all this isn't just academic, it's emotional. Learners who feel unsure ask for help. But in a system built on image, their hesitation is seen as weakness. So we teach them to fake it, to memorize what sounds confident, to speak before they think. But that's not fluency. That's fear in disguise. And when learners finally realize that what they were taught wasn't the full truth, they either blame themselves or quit. And we can't keep doing this. As an educator, I can't sit on the sidelines and and be quiet. I can't because that's a crime to be quiet. It's a crime. It's a crime not to expose fake people. It's a crime not to expose fake English teachers. It's a crime not to expose the lie. And I'm not a part of it. Real educators don't chase trends. They build understanding. They ask hard questions. They admit what they don't know. They read. They reflect. They revise. They don't correct just for correctness purposes. They correct to connect. They don't punish mistakes. They welcome them. They mine them for meaning. And most of all, they don't hide behind native speaker myths. They teach their students to be aware, not just accurate. To all English teachers, be a teacher and don't just carry the name of an English teacher. Be a teacher. Teach like a thinker. If you're a teacher, especially one in Iran, and you felt the pressure to perform fluency, this is your reminder. You're allowed to teach complexity. You're allowed to admit doubt. You're allowed to say, this depends on context. In fact, you must, because your students don't need more confidence tricks. They need clarity. They need truth. They need teachers who build, not just broadcast. So uninstall the filter. Get rid of it. Stop saying what sounds right and start saying what makes sense. That was quite the rough episode for today. If you're still listening, it means you care about your education. And that matters. So share this episode with someone who's tired of linguistic shortcuts. Tag a teacher who dares to think deeply, or just reflect quietly on the kind of educator you want to become. Fluency is not a formula. It's a journey. And if we are honest, we're all still learning. This is LinguaFox, not just your shortcut to fluent speech, your shortcut to speech that actually means something. Stay safe.